The king of pop has finally hit the big stage. The long-anticipated Michael Jackson movie is finally out, and we're here to talk about it. Welcome to the Grab Some Popcorn podcast. Your host, Jared and Emmanuel, here to give you movie news, movie reviews, and all-around movie topics. Welcome to episode 22 of the Grab Some Popcorn podcast, and today we'll be talking about Michael. This is the Michael Jackson biopic. It was released this weekend. It's starring Jaafar Jackson, who is playing Michael Jackson, and he's also Michael Jackson's real-life nephew. They have other great actors in this. We got Coleman Domingo playing Joe Jackson, Nia Long playing Katherine Jackson, his mother, and there's a lot of other notable people in this movie as well. Now, there's definitely no spoilers for this movie, as everyone knows Michael Jackson's life. I mean, it's been highly publicized. He's been a very famous figure. Definitely a man of controversy as well. But we're just here to talk about the movie and the things that, took place in it. So the movie covers about the first 26 years of Michael Jackson's life. You see him as a kid, starting in the Jackson 5 and then eventually branching into a solo artist and becoming the icon that he is today. So let's talk about the good things about this movie to start off for sure. I think most of the performances were really good, especially Coleman Domingo. I think he did a great job as the father. I don't know a lot about Michael Jackson's personal life. I know there's a lot in the news and, it's been out there just as far as like his growing up and upbringing. But I think that he captured the father really well. Obviously he wanted to push his kids into greatness, and this is portrayed in the movie. Its accuracy, I don't know how accurate it is, but it seemed like a pretty good depiction.
Yeah, it seemed pretty accurate.
Yeah, it seemed like a good depiction. What did you think? Now, I just want the audience to know I am a Michael Jackson fan. I grew up listening to Michael Jackson, seen his videos, on MTV growing up. So I'm gonna, definitely try my best to keep my bias out and just, speak genuinely how I feel about the movie. I know you're not like a big Michael Jackson fan, and that's not for any specific reason.
Like I've definitely heard of Michael Jackson. Like, who hasn't heard of Michael Jackson? But I was never really, it's not like I ever like bought the albums or went to any concerts or anything. Like, I just knew of Michael Jackson. I heard some of his songs, but I definitely wouldn't say that I'm like a huge fan. Like, I'm just a neutral, kind of like a neutral party.
Yeah. So just looking at the beginning of the movie and how it was for him growing up, like, what did you think of that depiction, and what was your favorite part about that?
Yeah, I'm assuming that the movie was based on a lot of true facts, like things that actually happened. And so, I mean, in the movie, like I said, I never really followed Michael Jackson's life closely. I just heard what the media say, but you can't always believe the media. And yeah, at the beginning, I realized like he was beaten as a kid. Like, his dad used to beat him and like in order to, like, I guess you could say, motivate him to be a good performer, that was like motivation by fear. And that's something I never knew, which, that's something the movie portrayed in the beginning, which, was kind of surprising. That was kind of like a dark moment in the movie for me.
Yeah, and you can really see how the early, abuse, like, really shaped who Michael is today. I mean, like we were saying, I don't know how accurate everything is in the movie, but if this is true, I never knew that his father said something about his nose, which contributed to him wanting to get a nose job or feeling self-conscious about himself. Like, it was a real quick, snappy remark when he called him Big Nose. I don't know if a lot of people even caught it, but I never even heard of that before.
Yeah, like I said, I never knew much in depth about Michael Jackson, but he did get a nose job. He was from what I saw, he was a very, like, he had it running in his blood. He had like dance and music and entertainment running in his blood. He thought about nothing else. He did nothing else. He did everything he could in his life to be, the greatest artist and performer that ever lived. Like this was his.
And he also wanted to
thing.
unite people too. He cared a lot about people. You saw there was a moment in the movie where he saw like, the gang activity that was happening in LA, and he wanted to bring them together. I don't know how true that is as far as him bringing together for that. I feel like it is for sure because, I've seen videos and pictures of him with gang members before. So, I mean,
yeah, like, the movie portrays him. He's always at the kids' hospital, giving them toys, talking to the kids. He's always at the toy store signing autographs. Like he was real. He was a real, he was a good guy, and like nothing bad to say about Michael Jackson. If the movie's how he really was, he was a great person.
Yeah, and it seems like a lot of that has to do with the fact that his childhood was robbed of him. He had to be a child star. You saw, they came home from the performance, and instead of going to bed or getting ready for school tomorrow, Dad's like, hey, break those instruments out. Let's go. We
were rehearsing. Yeah, you got to be number one.
We got to be better than good. So.
Yeah, he was super, he was beaten as a kid, super strict family, something that I did not know. Like all the media made him out to be like, like a loose cannon, and they called him this and that and a rapist, like a lot. And then, basically a whole bunch of noise. But really, he was brought up really strict, trained very strict, and, devoted his life to his craft.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the movie definitely portrayed that. And then as he got older, he wanted to, just be his own person. And it's like his father didn't want to let go of him. It's very clear that his father saw him as, the cash cow. And, Michael is going to work and generate all this money and build the brand up. That's how the father was laying it out. But really, it was just to make himself feel good and build himself up. Because he felt like everything, is coming from him. But really, it's coming from Michael. So.
Yeah, I saw that in the movie, too. That conflict between, like, the dad's like, I trained you since you were a boy. I got us off the ground. I got us our first gigs. And Michael is out here like, he's like, I understand that, but you know what I mean? If I branch off on if I go with the Jackson 5, we'll do like one show or something. But he branched off on his own, got his own album, and he sold 25 million copies. Like he obviously would do better on his own than having to take direction from his father after a certain point. And that was a huge conflict across the whole, like one of his hugest inner conflicts was between like him, trying, and his dad, like doing what his family wants and doing what he himself wants.
Yeah, definitely. Let me ask you a question. Now, you've seen this movie and you have your perception of Michael Jackson now after you've seen this movie. Let's say you went on the internet or you did some, research of your own, and you found out that all the stuff that happened in this movie was not only true, but it might even be a little bit harsher than what they portrayed on the screen. How does that affect your opinion of this movie? Do you think that if worse things happened to him, do you think that should have been portrayed in the movie, or do you think the portrayal as it is now is good?
Well, as far as for the movie, I think if they did, like, they covered some very surface stuff that was like dark, but it wasn't like, gory. It wasn't like super bad. Like if they showed him like taking drugs or, the more stuff they put in that was like, going towards, scary, going towards, controversial, the less it would have been for a wider audience. I think they did the right thing to, keep it to just a few scenes, show how that he got beat, show there was conflict, but don't put like drugs and all this really, really bad stuff, because then it turns into just like, instead of it being a show about, a world class performer and singer, it becomes like
a hit piece.
Yeah, it becomes like, it just gets too dark at some point. So I think they did a good job.
Yeah, and I agree with you. But like, I see people when they talk about this movie, they say like, and I agree to some extent, it's more like a highlight reel. It feels like, because they do a lot of they show some things, like you said, that are bad, but the movie really does focus on like the music performances and a little bit of the creativity, which is good. But we know Michael Jackson, was a very complex man. I'm pretty sure he thought like nobody else thought, his mentality and just the way that he saw the world. I feel like the movie could have done a little bit more with that, and it give us more insight on Michael Jackson. A lot of things in this movie, like we knew. One thing that I thought was really cool though, that I didn't know, that after he made Thriller, and this is probably due to my age, after he made Thriller, he was still on tour with the Jackson 5. Like, I thought once he made Thriller, because Thriller is like one of the highest selling album ever. There might be like one album ahead of it. I think like the Eagles, or maybe they're underneath. I don't know. It's between Michael Jackson and the Eagles, but the highest selling album ever, and he still had to go on tour with the Jackson 5. I thought once Thriller came out, obviously his stardom level.
You can see the disappointment in his face when he's like, he doesn't want to betray his family. And when his dad's like, you're doing this for, you're not to betray your family. So there he is on stage back with his brothers after dropping, just probably the most epic album in history.
And then you got to go back on.
And then you're back on stage with your brothers doing the same stuff you were doing.
And it's not even like he didn't want to be with his brothers. I think he just felt like his father was just controlling him too much. It's almost like somebody's telling you to do something and you don't even have a choice in it. And you're a grown man.
Yeah, and you don't want to do it and you're forced to. That's not something you want to be doing. If you don't want to do it, they should understand that, okay, he doesn't want to do this, let's not force him.
I also thought like the movie, I thought that the movie's pacing was I thought that they speeded things a little bit. I thought they could have went in depth a little bit more with certain things. And that just goes back to what I was saying about the complexity of Michael Jackson, the relationships that he had with other people, superstars, or just people in his life that were close to him. Just a lot of personal insight for sure was missing. I mean, they definitely hit the emotional buttons for sure with the conflict and, his mother feeling helpless and not really being able to do anything. And they definitely hit a lot of points, but I feel like they could have gone deeper with it. Yeah, for sure. So let's get into score and recommendations. I'll go first. For me, I'm going to give this movie a 7.5, honestly. It was really good. Great performances, the dancing. I thought, I'm sorry if I mess his name, Jaafar Jackson. I thought he did a great job portraying Michael. I mean, he was Michael, no doubt. The mannerisms, the dance moves, like everything. I don't think those were his vocals, obviously, but I mean, he brought Michael to life on the big screen, and I definitely recommend this movie if you're a fan of Michael Jackson, even just a little bit. Definitely go and check this movie out. What about you, sir?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm one of those people who didn't follow his life very closely or his music, but I did want to watch the movie because I figured it's better to watch the movie than to like read the autobiography, because it's one of those situations. And I was, I didn't know. I learned some stuff about Michael Jackson that I didn't know before. As far as for the movie and score, I mean, I'll give it an 8 out of 10. It wasn't an A for me. Like I do believe, like Jared said, it can go deeper in some parts, and lots of good performances, lots of good singing, dancing, some creative stuff, some business stuff, family drama. Like, it was a pretty good movie, but I couldn't give it an A because I think it was missing details as well. Yeah.
Got it. Word on the street is, since the way it ended, that they're definitely working on a part 2. More than likely they will do a part 2, which will go, because Michael Jackson's career obviously spanned beyond the 80s. So they're going to have to go into the 90s and the 2000s. Would you be willing to see a part 2 after seeing this one?
Yeah, I'd see part 2. I would definitely want to see how the story ended because I didn't follow closely, but if I have to watch 1 or 2 movies to learn about a man's, really a legend's life, basically, I'd be willing to do that. No problem.
All right, great. Well, that's all we've got from Michael, y'all. Hopefully you enjoyed the review. Be sure to leave a comment. Let us know what you thought of the review. Let us know what you thought of the movie. And make sure you like and subscribe to the Grab Some Popcorn podcast. We'll see you on the next one.
Over and out.